Hi everyone. This video is intended to be a brief introduction into how teams ranging from Clash friend groups all the way to pro level can win draft. Before we begin, these are the following timestamps you can skip to for each section of the video for future reference. Section 1. An introduction and where I am getting this information. Well, for that, I'm going to introduce the ideas of Randomonium Lol, a mathematician who in 2019 created a bot that correctly predicted the outcome of 845 top-level professional games with roughly 70% accuracy, using only a very basic handmade script that analyzed draft archetypes. Let's go over quickly how they work. First, he defined team composition and win conditions into 5 basic types: attack or teamfight, catch or pick, protect or hypercarry, siege or poke, and split. Let's go over a brief summary of how each of them work. I understand many of you may have an understanding in some of these already, but bear with me for the sake of having everybody on the same page. The attack comp. Attack comps, also known as engage or wombo combo comps to some of the most common draft types, especially in low elo solo queue, due to their simple and easy execution. The key attributes of an attack comp are at least one hard engaged champion, like a diver or a vanguard, lots of CC, and either massive AoE damage or high DPS. As you might have guessed, attack comps win by grouping as 5 and teamfighting. They excel at NAREM-style fights and are great at contesting neutral objectives like dragons or barons, especially when they can force the enemy into choke points.
Kieran Baron S5 with no contest, and well, here's why. SK felt like they were invincible because they had Chemtech Soul, but there's a ward in this Tribush, and even though the sweeper hits it, it's too late. Elyoya is on the hunt.
Was 5, just Jesu eat away, and then the follow-up from Reeker, flash ultimate from Kaiser, so many knockups, so much CC. Reeker does die, I believe, but he has Guardian Angel on the backside. Look at Unforgiven just bursting them down with the ultimate armlets in the backside. Really good dive there from Mad Lions. And who did it all come from? It all came.
The catch comp. Catch comps, or pick comps, are incredibly popular solo queue comps. In general, the catch comp relies on spreading the enemy team out so they can get kills by jumping on enemies, trying to rotate to objectives, or collapsing quickly on champions who overextend their team's reach. The key attributes of a catch comp are quick burst damage, single target CC, and high mobility. These teams are great at vision denial and punishing positional or macro mistakes. However, they have weaker 5v5 teamfights and rely on fast decisions, which can make them difficult to execute from a shot caller perspective.
感觉已经不够了，但是这个 Q 好像没有命中。
是的，
链子没有链到，又一个链子链住，这边开出了一个大招，会死吗？泡芙已经来了，这边 Q 一下定在原地，又一发 Q 技能，银焰的 Q 技能是收掉这个人头。旁边在找机会，左下一直在这里疯狂平 A 杀 Y4， 这边是在旁边完成了一波单杀，但左下有点危险，自己没有双招了，这边兄弟救一下，有人救，这边他又是收掉了一个冰雨的人头。
是，又是南风很及时。
The Protect comp. The Protect comp, or commonly known as the Hypercarry comp, are pretty simple and highly flexible on champion selection outside of a few key features. The key features of a Protect comp are a hyperscaling DPS champion, disengaged CC, and high utility. Disengaged CC here being very specific as forms of CC that don't necessarily cause fights when used, such as Janna or Nami ultimates. Defensive utility is also essential for these compositions, things like a Nivea wall. These abilities enable your hypercarry to get the most output of damage, since they are usually the only substantial source of it on their team. Protect comps win by drawing the enemy into 5v5 team comps and keeping their carry alive at all costs. The advantages of these comps is how great the pool of champions that can be used are, which allows teams to steer this comp into their own unique playstyle during the draft.
And now Fnatic funneled into the river. Perks has the flank position, but he's on a control ward, so he's spotted out. Wonder jumping forward, lands on Hillisang, but before it's forced off towards the bottom side of the fight. Perks trying to get the damage down, but Nemesis is still very healthy, but so is Reckless in this fight. Bwibble coming in, can't quite land the knock-up. Selfmade has to go out of the fight as Bwibble is the first to fall. G2 looking for the fight as they continue to push forward in the river, and Hillisang is forced away. But you can still see Reckless and Nemesis still very healthy. Nemesis doesn't have that much mana. Wonder's going to be the first to fall on the side of G2. Fnatic opening up, Reckless trying to do what he can, but Jankos with the stopwatch will stop them in their tracks. The sentry goes down, and G2 retreat back towards the dragon.
And you can see in the front-to-back team fights.
The Siege comp. The Siege comp or Poke comp are comps divided between a Poke and a Siege portion. The idea is that one part does long-range, safe damage, and the other takes advantage of openings created by low HP enemies. They can quickly take towers and objectives if they recall or base, and can kill them if they overstay. The key attributes of a Siege and Poke comp are long range for the Poke portion, and tower damage and disengage for the Siege portion. These comps require high coordination to be successful, but are incredibly powerful and rewarding to play if done right due to their low reliance on kills or any early game advantage.
It's Fortune and Varus instead, but we still get Zoe. As Scout, oh Ming! Okay, now they're forced off. Collateral damage blocked by Betty. He heals Ming, thankfully. Scout's still here though. Xiaohu's like, can I flank anymore? Probably not, sir. There goes the turret.
And they can keep going here as EDG. There's no reason for them to let up, especially if Xiao...
The Split comp. Lastly, we have the Split pushing comp, one of the most well-known and popular solo queue comp types. This comp comes in two subtypes, the 1-4 split comp and the 1-3-1 split type. Firstly, the 1-4 comp. This team utilizes a single strong duelist split pusher placed in either the top or bottom lane, pushing alone while the remaining 4 players anchor themselves in the mid lane. 1-3-1 comps are similar, but much more difficult to execute due to having a more spread out team, but done correctly, they can even be more effective than 1-4 comps. The general idea is that your split pusher, or split pushers, have both high turret damage, but also very strong 1v1 fights. This gives your enemy two choices. They can stay mid as 5, giving your split pusher free objectives while your team simply avoids fighting directly at all costs, or they can send 2 members to deal with the split pusher while your team attempts to force a fight mid lane with the numbers advantage. This team comp is heavily reliant on well-made macro calls from a shot caller and strong sense of map awareness for the whole team, but when pulled off well, it is incredibly potent.
Well, that's a fair amount. I mean, it seems okay. It's an alright amount of damage. Yeah.
Wow. Aatrox almost got away there. Close one, nice try.
Yeah.
So on, but Nuggery just playing too well. Yeah, he's up 3 levels at this point. Remember when I said...
Back to the chart we looked at earlier, we see that attack comps were strong into split and siege comps, but weak into protect and catch comps as an example. How do we abuse this? First, we identify each champion by its usefulness in each archetype. Then we simply pick a type we wish to play at the moment we have one in mind. The best way to do this is to delay a hard choice on our end as long as possible by drafting champions that are playable into as many comps as possible. Champions like J4, Ahri, Aatrox, or Thresh are good ways to stall choosing a comp for the first round of draft picks. Once we can either identify an enemy comp to counter or wish to draft our own, we then simply pick into it. Even if your opponent does not pick a cohesive comp, Randomonium's script that found that almost 80% success rate in choosing a team with a cohesive comp over one without. Randomonium did create a series of charts and graphs to assist in identifying champions by their archetype and sorting their usefulness into each team comp, but the complexity of this is outside the scope of this video. For a deeper dive, I recommend checking out his posts and videos that I have linked below. To keep things simple for now, I've gone through each player's champion comfort graphs to identify champions playable into each archetype. This is not a definitive list and does not take current champion meta into account. This is just a suggestion for easy pick champions for each draft type. Section 3. The drafts. Starting off with the attack comps. Statistics usually show that attack comps contain 3 melee champions to act as a frontline, with the remaining 2 high damage or AoE champions, such as the mid and top laner in this case. However, crossover with extra damage from front lines, or extra frontline from damage dealers, like the Renekton and Galio pick here, work too. For our top lane, good champions for this draft type include most of his comfortable bruiser picks like Mord, Aatrox, and Renekton, some of his fighter picks like Riven, Yasuo, and Sylas, and a few of his tanks like Ornn and Malphite. For me, the jungler, good picks would be J4, Mord, Poppy, and Amumu, or champs like Diana, Rumble, and Gwen if I needed to fill in some more damage. For the mid lane, good picks would be Asol, Corki, Lissandra, Orianna, or Galio. For the ADC, good picks might include Lucian, Varus, Kai'Sa, Ashe, or Jhin, but really anything that does large amounts of AoE or burst damage and can stay out of danger while doing it. And for the support, good picks could include Zyra, Neeko, Nami, Sona, or any engaged supports like Nautilus or Thresh. Now on to catch comps. Shown here is a strong ideal catch comp. It contains good single target crowd control, high burst damage, and high mobility. There's a good mix of short and long range here, but not in the same way a poke comp would have. They tend to be much more squishy comps than attack comps, but can usually make up for it anytime they catch somebody out and create a numbers advantage on an objective. These comps are also great at vision denial and generating early game leads that snowball games. For our top lane, good drafts for this comp might include Yone, Akali, Sylas, Camille, Garen, or Renekton. For me, the jungler, good picks might include Nidalee, Pantheon, Kha'Zix, Qiyana, Vi, or J4. For our mid lane, strong picks might include Ahri, Tristana, LeBlanc, Syndra, Taliyah, Twisted Fate, or Vex. For our ADC, good picks might include Jhin, Kai'Sa, Aphelios, Lucian, Varus, Ezreal, Ashe, Twitch, or Draven. And for our support, some good picks might include Morgana, Blitzcrank, Thresh, Leona, Neeko, or Annie. Now on to protect comps. Shown here is a strong choice for a late game hypercarry style protect comp. A good protect comp includes 2 or more tanks for utility and CC, a hyperscaling AD carry, an enchanter or utility champ to empower the AD carry, and a secondary damage and utility champion to provide additional damage and peel, usually opposite to the damage type of the AD carry. These comps tend to have slow early games due to the scaling nature of its win condition, so you'll have to know how to balance when to give things up early and when to start fighting. For the top lane, good picks for this draft type could include Set, Mord, Ornn, Malphite, Sion, Shen, Poppy, Malphite, and Cho'Gath. For me, the jungler, good picks might include Amumu, J4, Maokai, Poppy, Nautilus, Mordekaiser, and Dr. Mundo. For the mid lane, strong picks might include Azir, Orianna, Ziggs, Cassiopeia, Asol, Victor, and Galio. As for the ADC, strong picks for the hypercarry would be Aphelios, Kai'Sa, Kog'Maw, Jinx, Vayne, Ashe, Xayah, and Zeri. And lastly, for the support picks, these could be Yuumi, Soraka, Sona, Melio, Lulu, Nami, and Seraphine. Now on to the siege or poke comps. This is an excellent example of a siege and poke comp as it contains all of the fundamentals, these being around 3 champions with dangerous long-range abilities and autos, alongside disengage with strong tower killing ability. Usually these comps lean into the more squishy side, so including a more durable champion with disengage in either the top or the jungle is crucial. For the top lane, drafts of this type could include Ornn, Gnar, Alawi, Urgot, Cho'Gath, and Poppy. For me, the jungler, good picks could include Graves, Morgana, Nidalee, Poppy, Maokai, Taliyah, or Shyvana. For the mid lane, some good pick options include Ziggs, Jace, Orianna, Corki, Zoe, Xerath, and Vel'Koz. For the ADC, some strong picks could include Varus, Caitlyn, Jhin, Aphelios, Ezreal, Sivir, and Ashe. And lastly, for the support, some strong options could include Morgana, Lux, Karma, or Seraphine. Lastly, we arrive at the split comp. This particular comp is a 1-3-1 comp, but it's pretty flexible in that choice. It contains 2 strong dueling champions that excel both at 1v1s as well as tower damage. Notice both of them have TP. This is important as split comps, particularly the splitting champion, need to be able to rejoin the team quickly for an objective or resume splitting if they find the lane is left open. It also features a strong, self-sufficient bot lane that can farm safely with little to no jungle presence and strong disengage options in case the enemy team decides to try to force 5v4 while your side laner is splitting. For the top laner, drafts like this could include Riven, Aurelia, Fiora, Tryndamere, Nasus, Darius, Camille, or Gnar. For me, the jungler, good picks could include J4, Poppy, Morgana, Taliyah, Pantheon, Graves, or Viego. For the mid lane, drafts could include Tristana, Syndra, Ahri, Karma, Ryze, Asol, or Akshan. For the ADC, safe picks could include Ezreal, Kai'Sa, Sivir, Ashe, Tristana, or Kalista. Lastly, strong support drafts could include Morgana, Yuumi, Syra, Seraphine, Karma, Lux, Renata, or Thresh. As some final closing notes for this, a reminder that the drafts are dynamic. As long as your team still fills the basic requirements for a comp, you can switch things up on the fly to suit the needs of the game. A Gwen jungle could become the second split pusher in a 1v1 comp, or a mid lane Corki could become the main hyper carry in a protect comp. The champions named are only suggestions listed to give you an idea what to look for when drafting around each comp. All sources and links will be below. I hope this video can be a step into taking our drafts up a notch.